with you in the Midlands, BBC Radio.
Our guest today on The Record Collectors is somebody we've been wanting to talk to for a very long time indeed. This is the sister of the great Stuart Sutcliffe, probably one of the most important figures, and arguably the most important figure in the founding of the Beatles. And on the line I have Pauline, his sister. Hello, Pauline.
Hello, Mike.
Welcome to the programme.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Pauline. You're obviously from Merseyside.
Yes, I'm Merseyside born and bred, but I did all of my education, my higher education in London, where I've lived ever since.
Right.
I'm a psychotherapist by profession,
Right.
and until recently was also co-owner of an art gallery
Really? Whereabouts?
in the Portobello Road.
So there is a family interest in art.
Yes.
There is an age difference between you and Stuart, of course.
Yes, there's a 4-year age difference. Mike, I'm now 56. You sound much younger.
It's the tablets.
Tell me about them later.
Tell us a little bit about your early days in Liverpool, the memories you had before Stuart got involved with the Beatles.
Oh, before he got involved in the Beatles. Well, of course, the 4 years makes quite a difference, Mike. And when he went to art school at the age of 16,
Yes.
I was 12,
Yes.
12, 13. So I hardly ever ventured into the city, except maybe to go shopping with my mother. And then, of course, when Stuart had a studio, his first one, he must have only been about 17 and a half. And, you know, the first one with Rod Murray.
Oh, yes.
I'm sure you knew Rod as well.
Yeah, the name's very familiar to me.
Right, well, we used to be taken on a pilgrimage every week by Mother to the studio to collect the dirty washing and to pay the milk bill. So they're my memories of pre-Beatle days.
Did you manage to hold on? I mean, there's a beautiful book by Genesis recently that I'm sure you know that Klaus put together. And
Indeed,
Astrid, yes. And it refers most lovingly to Stuart in that book.
Correct.
And there are obviously some reproductions of some of his work. Do you have any of Stuart's work?
Oh, absolutely. It's all sitting here in the Liverpool Beatles story.
Right.
That's what we've opened today after many months of planning and amazing work down here by Sheila and Terry and others.
To give my regards to Sheila, I know her very well. Tell her Mike Adams sends his love to her. And it's a fantastic centre. I've done pieces down there before.
Good.
But going back to the, have you got any? Have you any artwork by
Yes,
Stuart?
there's a lovely art collection here, as well as the artefacts.
Right.
So that's what's so important about it.
Absolutely.
That it isn't just a freestanding art exhibition or books with just several illustrations of bits and pieces. It's the whole collection.
How long will the exhibition run for?
It's going to run for a year.
And is there any plans what to do with the exhibition afterwards?
Well, we haven't actually agreed anything in particular just yet.
No, it's an exciting project, though, isn't it?
Isn't it? Yeah.
These letters that Stuart wrote, presumably this is during his time in Hamburg,
Yes.
when he was engaged eventually to Astrid, wasn't he?
Yes, some of them predate the engagement as well.
Right. What insights did they give us to his thinking at that time?
Well, we gather an awful lot of insight about what Hamburg was like as a city, what it was like to play in the first club they were in, which was a dingy hole, and of course they were worked like slaves, as most people know now. And sometimes he was very enamoured with it all and very excited by it all. I think he felt it was more of an adventure,
Right.
than perhaps just staying home in Liverpool. And sometimes he was quite fed up with it all, you know, when they were tired and weary and and of course it used to bother him that he wasn't painting, and
Yes.
but he sorted that out in no time at all. But we also get wonderful insights into the competitiveness between other Liverpool groups going over there, you know, Howie Casey and Jerry and Rory Storm.
Yes.
We've even got a letter here with Ringo coming in to listen to them, and you know, how was he to know that in no time at all he would be a Beatle?
Exactly.
So there's an awful lot of material and information like that hasn't really been known about directly from one of the early members.
It's nice to talk to somebody who is truly a bloodstock member of the real beginning of the Beatles story, the start of it, because there are so many people that it's hand-me-downs and by word of mouth, and frankly wish I was there sort of thing, and you were actually in the very heart of it all. One question which never seems to be resolved when I read about the early days is the fight supposedly that Stuart got into, and there's been some writings recently that this may have been a fight he had with John.
Yes.
But I mean, do you have any recollection of Stuart ever talking to you about it, this trouble that was imposed upon him?
Well, we certainly know that that he was beaten up in Liverpool, and in fact Pete Best tells that story very well because he helped with John to rescue Stuart.
Right.
But that event was too distant to explain a cerebral hemorrhage 1.5 years later.
Right.
So there had to have been a trauma nearer to the date of death.
Right.
Now, we all know that John could be quite explosively volatile, and we know that they were very deeply connected with one another. And I do know that some months before Stuart died, on one of his visits to home, he did arrive and he looked particularly unwell, and there had been a trauma of some kind, but he didn't discuss it in any detail with us.
No. So, I mean, one will never know. I mean, obviously, the influence that Stuart had over John, it was quite awe-inspiring, really, because really he was a great motivator behind John's own creativity and his art.
Yes.
Anything in these letters that tell you anything?
Astrid's letters tell us a lot more, actually, about John.
Right.
Yes. You see, Stuart and John, when they weren't in Hamburg, they used to write to one another rather a lot. And unfortunately, we don't have those letters. Astrid gave them back to John some very, very long time ago. But you're actually asking me something quite interesting, because I have often wondered myself why Stuart doesn't talk about John in his letters to us.
Right. Maybe too close.
Possibly.
Just to share with our listeners here on BBC Midlands, and you're listening to The Record Collectors with Mike Adams and Chris Avery, just to say we are talking to the sister of Stuart Sutcliffe, who of course was one of the original Beatles, and many say was the person who really got the style, certainly artistically, with the hairstyle and the clothing of which the Beatles became globally famous. And I'm talking to Pauline, his sister. You've had these letters for a long time, Pauline.
Yes, Mike. Yes. Yes,
Have you never been
almost 40 years?
Are you going to put them into a bit of something from yourself? Put a book out, so we can actually sort of touch, feel, and read at leisure.
Yes. Well, I have done a few books, Mike. The one that was the most lavishly illustrated was the Genesis limited edition.
Yes.
Unfortunately, that's an edition of 2,500.
Right.
And they're massively expensive, and so that can only achieve a very small readership.
Right.
However, the reason for not unveiling them as fully as we have today is that our mother requested us not to.
Right.
Until 15 years after her death.
Right.
And so it seemed absolutely right that Sheila Johnson and Terry Sanson should scoop other strong contenders for this very unusual exhibition, because not only are they terrific people to work with and are doing a fabulous job here, but it's Liverpool and it's his home.
Well, it's a natural place, actually,
Yes.
for it to be. I was reading the other day that that when your mother went over to the day after Stuart's passing,
Yes.
that I don't think John Lennon was even aware, or Paul, that he had died, and they greeted. I think they met at the plane, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
And they were sort of got excited, and then they were informed of what had happened.
Yes, that's right.
Mm.
And there was another little strange irony in that George hadn't been able to travel out with them.
That's right.
And so I think he had German measles. And so he travelled with Brian Epstein and my mother. So the three of them were on the plane together.
Yes.
And of course, Astrid was at the airport to meet my mother and wondered why John and Paul had arrived.
Right.
And of course, that's when the awfulness of what had happened was revealed. So it happened there in the airport.
Well, certainly for anybody interested in the history of British popular music, it is essential visiting to go and see at the Beatles Story Museum, which is right on that wonderful frontage in Liverpool. And if you care to just wander across, the Tate Gallery, incidentally, has an exhibition at the moment to do with some of the works of John Lennon and Paul McCartney. But certainly educate yourself by going to this exhibition. And Pauline, thank you for your enlightenment. And I wish you every success with this.
Thank you very much indeed.
It's been lovely talking to you.
And you.